Everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with the 8th layout using the May Hip kit, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff I have left, some Dear Lizzie paper, some 6x6 pattern paper from Pink Paisley. And the reason I have those left is because this is one of the layouts that I kind of had prepared at the beginning. So when I sat down, I kind of divided up the 6x6 pattern paper, because what we got was about half a package of the Pink Paisley 6x6 pattern paper, and from Citrus Bliss, I believe it was called. I think that's what it was called. And what I had done was I actually ordered the 6x6 pattern paper pad, and because I thought, you know what, I can really sort of extend my kit if I have the whole 6x6 pattern paper pad, and it's still not in. So I don't know. I don't know when it's going to be in. They took forever to ship it, and I would say at least over 2 weeks. And so it was shipped now, but by the time it comes in, this kit, the kit is killed now. This is layout 8, and I've done 16 layouts with this kit, and I think I'm going to make one more out of this, and it's going to be a Project Life layout, because I still have my cards from the Project Life add-on kit. And so 17 layouts, pretty good considering that there was only a little bit of 6x6 pattern paper. Usually what I try to do is, if there's let's say if there's 16 pattern papers, I try to make it so that I have 16 layouts. This one here, I think there was 16, and I'm going to get 17 out of it, so yay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down a lot of those 6x6 pattern papers to about, they're all going to vary. They're all going to be between 1 inch to 1.5 inch to 2 inches, and I'm just going to create a vertical border. But what I'm going to do a little different, usually a lot of times I put them side by side and all the way down the layout. This time here, I'm going to put 2 side by side, and I'm going to overlap one of them, so that there's going to be a little bit more texture to the whole thing. Because of some of them are going to be over top, there's going to be more texture to that mat, I guess, or background. And at first I was going to do it 6.5, because I didn't know at this point, I don't think I knew what pictures I was going to use. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. A lot of times I start the layouts, I have not a clue what pictures I'm going to use. I just know sort of, okay, this one here, I want to do strips, I want to put it all the way down the layout. And I kind of start with that, and then once I get that done, then I stop the recording, and then I find pictures. Like the layout before this, or 2 layouts before this, was I knew I want to use my Amy Tangerine templates and all the mixed media that we got in the kits, the paint daubers and the distress inks, and I knew I wanted to do a bright on the left side of the layout, about 2/3 of the layout. And then once that was done, I had to stop the recording and choose some pictures. A whole lot of talking to say that most times I don't know what I'm going to do, so I just start, get it done, and then I stop the recording and choose my pictures. So it's going to take me a few minutes to, get those kind of figured out, because I'm kind of I only put glue in the middle, so that way if I want to, like here, I only had about a 1/2 inch strip, and I wanted to add a little bit more color there, so I kind of tucked it in behind, and now I want to add more color in between the last 2. So again, I'm going to lift the side and kind of tuck it in behind, and I kind of like that. Usually, like I said, I put it flush down side by side, but this time I kind of made it a little different, just so that it has a little bit more dimension. And usually I would put a band to the top, a band to the bottom, add some embellishments, and I would call it done. But not this time. I'm just going to get a little messy with the whole layout. And I mean, you could have at this point, just like a showing right there, put the strip at the top, and those are just branding strips. And I mean, the companies have been doing this for a little bit now, but there's a whole lot more companies that are doing this. They're putting their branding strip on one side. They're putting a whole strip of that you can actually use. And I know it's only a ½ inch more that you get on that paper, but I love those branding strips because they make perfect little borders. So I'm going to use it, one at the top, one at the bottom. And I'm taking out my huge container of gesso. And I got this at Michael's, and I think it was not cheap. I think it was like close to $30 or $35, but I used a 50% coupon, and I used so much gesso that I went through that. I think it was a 1 liter bottle fairly quickly, so I figured, hey, just get the 2 liter bottle. I had a 50% off coupon, so I ended up using it, and that gesso is fairly heavy, so I really like it. And it's from Liquitex. So I just sort of added, and it's the white gesso, it's not clear. Because the patterns were so bright, I just wanted to tone them down a little bit. So I just kind of put it on the pattern paper pretty much everywhere. And now I'm going to get messy. So I'm going to take out some watercolor pencils, and they're from Prima. And these are not the ones that we got in last month's kit, but they're very similar, just different colors. When we got those in the color add-on, I just liked them so much that I got a lot of color pencils from Prima. And I didn't get all that were available. I think there's one that I didn't get. But and I use them quite a bit. So I'm going to use there's 2 tones of pink, and I think this is maybe the floral one. I can't remember. They have different kinds, different titles on each of their watercolor crayons, and maybe it's spring one. I don't know. Anyway, now I'm going to use my Distress ink, and that did come in the color add-on for this month. I'm just using my roll of paper towel to absorb most of the moisture. And when you're careful how you roll it up, it doesn't smoosh it, like it doesn't make it go back and forth. It just lifts the ink up just so that it dries a little faster. And it's just because I'm lazy to every time take some off the roll. And this time too, it dries, and then I can use it again next time. So because I added so much moisture to the pattern papers, a lot of the edges are starting to lift. So I'm just taking my fine line bottle, quick dry adhesive, and I'm just gluing those down. And that's another reason why I like that fine line bottle too, is that you can get into some areas where you've already glued down, and you can, it's very intricate or little where, not intricate, but it's very small where you're trying to get, and usually you'd have to rip it up more so you could get the bottle in there. But because it's fine line, you can just get in tight places. That's what I want to say, tight places. And so I like that. So I stopped the recording because I guess I didn't know what pictures I wanted to use. I found these pictures. It's our trip to New York, and we had taken a train in because we were about an hour and a half away. I didn't even know this, okay, but there is a Florida, New York, which we thought that was pretty cool. So we stayed in Florida, New York, and the train was about 20 minutes from Florida, New York, 15 to 20 minutes drive, which wasn't bad at all. And so we took the train there, and then we took the train into New York, which was about an hour and a half. And both my kids had never been on a train before, and I couldn't believe that, because when I was growing up, the train was very much so a mode of transportation. My family, my mom, and the 2 kids, we went to visit my aunt, which lived in Sudbury, Ontario. We went every 2 years, and we took the train pretty much every 2 years to go. So I was on the train a lot. And then I grew up in Bathurst, which is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours north from where I live now. And I went to university where I live now, and I never left. I came to university here, and I never left. And so to go home on weekends or stuff like that, I would take the train. So I took the train a lot. And even when I was growing up in Bathurst, we would take the train to Moncton on a Saturday, first thing in the morning, and we would shop all day because the shopping was and is way better in Moncton than it is in Bathurst. We have amazing shopping here, and then we would take the train back at home that night, But my kids had never been on the train. I couldn't believe it. I mean, they had taken the subway before, but that's different, right? It's like zoom, zoom, a few stations, and you need to get off, but this was on a train outside, and it was like an hour and a half. And my son, when he was younger, I think a couple years ago, I did a page that I called I Love Trains, because literally my son, for I'd say 2 years, just randomly he would say, "Mom," and I'd say, "What?" "I love trains." And we'd say, "Yeah, we know." And he would just say that over and over and over again whenever we were in the car home. I mean, he's long, he doesn't say that anymore, but he did for years. So even one year for Christmas, we had bought him a little train, a dinky toy train. And it's still in the box. Like, he's never opened it. He still has it, but he's never played with it because he wants to keep it, new. And but anyway, back to the layout. So I just this page here, it just dawned on me, when I looked at those, that to them it was a new, wonderful experience. So that's what this title is going to be. So now I'm starting to work on the clusters, and I'm going to do 3 clusters, and they're all around. I kept it tucked into around the 6-inch strip. One is going to be at the top, and it's I used a punch circle from that pink paisley pattern paper that you could punch. One side was all circles that you could punch out with a 2-inch punch. And then I also used some of those Amy Tangerine circle tags, and they coordinated really well. And then I used, some of the die cuts that came in the kit. One says "Discover Your Own Paradise." There's a little butterfly. There was a pink paisley pattern paper that had little tickets. It was a 6x6. I cut a few tickets off of that because obviously we had to buy tickets to hop on the train. And then I used some of the labels because there was only one label from the die cut pack, the one that says "Discover Your Own Paradise." So the other 2 labels, I used the October afternoon labels, and I'm tucking one in behind that cluster right there that I just worked on. And then I put an Amy Tangerine circle tag, and then there was a white and gold polka dot heart, and there was another acetate butterfly. Then I'm going to take a chipboard sticker that said "Pretty," because the ride was pretty to go there. We couldn't believe, like, we were, a little over an hour outside of New York, and it was gorgeous. I mean, New York is gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but I never would have thought that it would have been so, full of trees and that close to New York, and it was just, the drive there was just beautiful. And we went in 3 or 4 times, and so we got to do the trip quite a few times, right? If we went 4 times, it was 8 times that we went there and back. So, but usually on the way back it was dark, so we couldn't see anything. But they really enjoyed every time that we went into New York. And the only thing is, and you know how I feel about being cold, man, it was cold on those trains. So the first time we froze on the way there. After that, we knew to bring a sweater for the train so that we wouldn't be cold, and then we could put it in our backpack for the rest of the day, because then it was like, oh, killer heat. So the bottom cluster, what I ended up doing too is I took again, what's it called? Project Life Grid 4x6 card. I cut it down, and that's where I'm going to do my journaling. I end up putting an acetate heart on top of that. And then just to the left of it, I'm going to do a little cluster, and it is with a Naming Tangerine tag, a label sticker again. And then because I did part of my title in black, I end up taking a few little asterisks from the sticker sheet, and I put it on in the different clusters there. And then I end up using some enamel little arrows, I guess, arrowheads. They're in pink, and I'm going to add those to the layout. I'm going to cut down my white cardstock to about 11 3/4 by 11 3/4, and then I'm going to mount it, the whole thing, on black. And again, I love that little box that I bring in, and I just pick everything up. It's so quick. It just cleans up my area super quickly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck it to the right of the layout so that only the top and the left has some black sticking out. And I've done that a few times the last few layouts, and I really like that. It just kind of different. Instead of having a border all the way around, it just kind of gives the border to the top and the left of the layout. And that's gonna, I think, pretty much complete this layout. And yep, I'm showing you some close-ups here. And again, because I used so much moisture, there was some stuff kind of lifting up, so I used my quick dry adhesive to glue that down. And here are a few close-ups of all the embellishment clusters, and that's it. That's going to complete layout 8. And like I said, I've killed this kit. This kit is done, so I am looking forward to start playing with my June kit. But for you guys, it's going to be a little while before you get to see some June layouts. So thanks for watching. Bye.